Hi friends, welcome to Unit R, Day 4. This is the factoring packet. Today we're going to be looking at page 6. This is factoring 2 or 3 terms when you have x squared plus bx plus c, so your first term is 1. After checking for a GCF, counting your terms, so you've checked for perfect squares, you've checked for perfect cubes. If these patterns don't show up, see if your first term, your leading term, see if it has a leading coefficient of 1. If it does, then we can work through an x squared plus bx plus c case. This is actually not written correctly. You want to check to see if the first term has a number of 1. So number 1. So you can x through all that. So what we can do, we can follow the steps. A lot of students try and do it a different way. Now you're going to say, but I learned it using the X method where I took A times C and I did that. If you want to do it that way, that's perfectly fine. One of the things that I learned that way. And after learning through this way and then going through and doing it, I came to the realization that this teaches a number sense, a deeper number sense, and really that's what I want you to have. I want you to have a number sense. So give this more than 1 or 2 tries. Give it maybe 16 tries to see if you can go through and do it. This makes the next part that we get to insanely easy, and it's just because you know multiplication. The more that you multiply, the more you feel comfortable with it, the better that you have a number sense in your head. Follow these steps. First thing is to set up the parentheses and signs. We've already talked about that from a previous section, so check my notes over page 2. Page 2, multiplying and dividing polynomials. Check in the bottom of that. We talked about that to capture that. So if you are confused on what I mean by that first step, check that out. For this one, we're going to have a plus and a minus because our last term, this negative, 28 because it's a negative. And then I say list all the factors of the last term in a U shape. Really, as long as you have a box of some sort or a way to organize it, you're fine. Here's how I factor something. If I want to factor 28, I always start with 1 and that number because everything is a factor of 1 in itself. So 1 and that number first. And then what else goes into 28 evenly? So after 1, I check 2. 2 and 14 work. Then I would check 3. I wouldn't write these down until I'm confident that it's actually a factor. 3 does not go into 28 evenly, so I wouldn't even write it down. Then I get to 4, and then 4 and 7. Now, there's not more room here, but if I checked 5 and I checked 6, none of those work. I get to 7. Oh, I've already checked 7. It's right here. As soon as I start turning around on this U-shape idea that we're talking about, then I'm done. I don't need to check anymore. And then after I check that, I'm looking for the combination of the signs to give me the middle term. So if I combine, again, my first terms are going to be x squared. They have to be x squared because x times x gives me an x squared. So that's going to be an x, and that has to be an x for the first part. So it's really the last parts. So what factors can I, go through and obtain to get a 3x? So if I look at these 1 and 28, I can't really manipulate 1 and 28 to give me a 3x. 2 and 14, I can't add and subtract those to get a 3x. 4 and 7, oh, I can. If I take 7 from 4, that's going to get me a 3x. Negative 3x, excuse me. And so the way that I look at that is I think, okay, well, if I'm going to take 7 from 4, then 7 needs to be negative, and then 4 needs to be positive. If you look, you'll see, because this is negative here, my greater magnitude number, so you call it the larger one, but it's the one that you want furthest from 0, that one needs to be negative. And then you can check this out by multiplying it, foiling it, using the table method. We talked about that as well. So whichever one you feel more comfortable with. So for this page, I'm going to do numbers 2. So let's start with number 2 here. 18 minus 9x plus x squared. And the big thing with this one is it's not in the order that we normally do these with. So let's go ahead and rewrite this in order. So that's actually x squared minus 9x plus 18. And then let's go ahead and list out the factors of 18. So if I list out the factors of 18, I'm going to trying to grab a pen that you can see is visually different than the 18. The green. So 1 and 18. So that's one set. 2 and 9. And then what else do I have? 3. 3 works. 3 and 6. 4 doesn't. 5, then 6. Oh, I'm back to 6 now. So as soon as I get back to a number that I've already hit, then I know I'm done. I've got all the factors. So I'm just going to check, can I manipulate 1 and 18 to get me a 9? No. 2 and 9? No. What about 3 and 6? Oh, if both of those are negative, -3 and -6, and if I add them together, if I combine them together, then that's going to give me a -9. So let's see how this looks. So I'm going to end up with parenthesis x, and then for this to work, I need this to be a subtraction. Oh, and that works out well. Because this is a positive, then I know it's the signs. The signs are whatever that sign is for both of these. So because this is positive, I know that this sign is for both. So minus, minus. And then we said check 3 and 6. So now, just going to quickly check x times x is x squared. -3 times x is -3x plus -6 times x. So -3x and -6x, that's -9x. And then -3 and -6 multiplied together gives me a positive 18. This worked out well. So there is number 2. Number 3, what we have here is, we have a GCF we can pull out. So check first. Always check to see if there's a GCF you can take out first. So looking at this, I see 2 goes into all of these. There's also a y that goes into all of them. So let's factor out a 2y from all of these. I'm left with a y squared plus 5y. And then minus, ooh, be careful. Minus, looks like a 20, is that a 29? No. 24. Whew. Be careful doing math later in the day. Some of you are like, what? Can't do that. All right. Again, so checking now perfect squares, not perfect squares. Not perfect cubes. Okay, so now I'm going to find the factors of -24. Now the way that I write these, even though this is a negative sign, I'm just going to write the factors positive. I probably shouldn't have wrote. Probably should make my actual factors first before I write that in. So I'm going to erase my pen here that I've used. Now, all right, so I'm going to check first 1 and 24. And then 2 and 12. 3 and 8. 4 and 6, and that's the end of my factors. So there we go. All right, now I can go ahead and take the factors, and let's see what's going to give me a 5. 1 and 24 won't work, 2 and 12. 3 and 8 will. 3 and 8. In fact, I need to subtract the 3 to the 8, which works out well because after I set up my problem, I'm going to have y here, and then I'm going to have a y. Then when I go through and check it, I have y plus and a y minus, and I want for this to be a positive 5, I need this to have the 8 and then minus 3. So there's 2y, parentheses, y plus 8 and y minus 3. There's that. The next one I want to go over is number 4. Number 4, I have x squared plus 14xy and plus 45y squared. Now, there's not a GCF that I can pull out of all of these. And, well, y squared is a perfect square. 45 is not. So be careful. 45 is not a perfect square, so don't fall into that trap. So if I want to find the factors of this, well, I know that y squared has to be part of it. X squared, so just kind of setting this up, I know it's x. I know it's going to be an x here. But I also know that's going to be a y for this last term. Because it's y squared, I know I have to have a y in both. Because it's positive, I know it's going to be positive here and positive here. So really I'm just looking for what's the coefficient in front of that y. Let's find the factors of 45. 1 and 45. 2 doesn't work. 3? 3 and 15. What else do we have? 4, 5, ooh. 5 and 9, I believe. 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, there we go. So it's got to be one of these. So let's check. So I have to go through and check. 1 and 45, I can't get 14. 3 and 15, can't get 14. 5 and 9, if I add those two together. And that's what we want, because we're going to be adding these together. So there's the factors of that as well. Let me know if you have any questions or your instructor know, and have a fantastic day.